Study 4. Too busy to care about others. Have you noticed how bad service is these days? From department store workers to customer service reps to cable repairmen, service stinks. And then there's the DMV, or Department of Motor Vehicles. I'm convinced that these folks hold meetings to devise diabolical new ways to increase our wait time. Of course, there are plenty of exceptions. Some service people are simply exemplary. But in general, I think many of us have come to expect poor service from almost everyone. But do we provide poor service as well? We have multiple opportunities to serve each day, whether those opportunities involve coworkers or customers, an elderly parent, a spouse and children, another driver in traffic. How's your service? Is it consistently great, or is it closer to what we get at the DMV? If you're like a lot of folks, it's probably somewhere in between. Though we're called to be like Jesus and wash people's feet with humility and gladness, we fall short of that ideal daily, sometimes far short, and sometimes hourly. It's not just our hard wiring. Let me introduce you to another reason related to our busyness that some of us struggle with servanthood. Psychologists have documented a condition that affects people who do a lot of serving. It may sound like psychobabble to you, like the disorder du jour we hear about on the nightly news, but this one's actually legit, backed up by some decent research. It's called compassion fatigue. As the term implies, it means, in simple terms, that you've been so busy taking care of others that you're now experiencing a decline in your ability to feel compassion for them. It's a form of burnout. People in the helping professions and service industries are especially at risk. People like counselors, caregivers, teachers, social workers, pastors, parents. Just about anyone whose primary job is to respond to others' needs. The more we push ourselves beyond healthy limits to minister to others, the more susceptible we are to losing compassion for them. Have you ever sensed this happening to you? After several intense hours, days, and weeks of taking care of other people's problems, we can grow weary of it. And though we may like or even love these people, overload starts to set in and serving them loses its joy. When the intensity persists over longer periods of time, months or years, we may even feel like we want to withdraw from people altogether. Psychologists call this depersonalization, if you want the fancy term. Service to others has now become a burden rather than a blessing. Notice the connection to busyness here. We're so busy serving that eventually we become exhausted, mentally, physically, even spiritually. We don't have an attitude problem or some deep-seated spiritual deficiency. We may just have this thing called compassion fatigue. It explains a lot about the service we receive today, as well as the service we provide to others. Understanding the problem is an empowering first step toward doing something about it. So let me suggest just that. Understand it. Watch yourself for signs of this condition. If you're heroically caring for others' needs so often that you become jaded toward their needs, you probably should scale back your service. Week 2 of this study goes into detail about how to do this in a Christian manner. Let me also recommend that you invite God into those relationships and into those moments of depersonalization, of compassion fatigue to the point of wanting to withdraw from others. The Bible indicates that He will sustain you. Isaiah, in particular, says that God gives strength to the weary and strengthens the powerless. Youths may faint and grow weary, and young men may stumble and fall, but those who trust in the Lord will renew their strength. Over the next 24 hours, look for signs of compassion fatigue in yourself. If you find any, seek respite and ask God to strengthen you and to give you fresh perspective about how blessed you are to have your ministry to others. Watch for the problem in others as well. Chances are you'll see it multiple times in just the next day. When you do, consider asking God's blessing on these people as well, rather than reacting as you normally do when experiencing bad service. You may be surprised by the power He'll give you to be a light to that beleaguered cashier, the unfriendly nurse, and even the window agent you waited 90 minutes to see at the DMV.
Think about it. How does it make you feel when you've served someone with joy and with excellence? For group discussion, How is the busyness of your life affecting your ability to serve others joyfully and well? Talk to God about it. Consider the scripture cited in this lesson, Isaiah 40:29-31. Reflect on the scripture to seek some practical ways you can co-labor with God to gain more time, more energy, and more willingness to serve people. Your Freedom from Busyness Plan, Part 4. In the next 24 hours, watch for symptoms of compassion fatigue, symptoms like a lack of empathy for people's problems or a desire to withdraw from them. Before doing the next study in this book, write down your observations here. How big of a problem is compassion fatigue for you, and what are 2 things you can do to begin addressing the problem?